And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media and providing you the timely truth centered around your real estate, credit, finance, estate planning, tax planning, health, chiropractic health today, and so much more. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show. Our number one goals are to educate, entertain, enlighten, and we want to help you win in any marketplace.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Now, we want you to save our hotline number in your phone because at some point you're going to need it. 813-670-7372.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
813-670-7372.
Here's my number, so call me maybe.
And consumerqb.com. You can see a lot of information at consumerqb.com. You can see links to all of our expert contributors, 80 plus show partners that we have there, CPAs, financial advisors, all types of folks that can help you live a better life. Avoid commission-based advice. And we don't care if you're climbing a corporate ladder or if you throw a ladder in your truck on the way to work. This show's for you. We're going to help you win. Intelligent Talk Radio. I've got some intelligent folks here in studio today. Ruth Watkins back in the house. Welcome back.
Thank you, Brandon.
My pleasure. What are we going to talk about today?
Oh, my gosh. I have some things to share with people with regard to rates and what locking is, what floating is, where their head should basically be when they're thinking about that, because it is sort of overwhelming and confusing for buyers when they're looking at rate alone and they don't understand the entire picture. Kind of what you're saying, believe it or not, you're really shopping commission-based when you're looking at that rate, because you don't, you're walking into a situation where you don't have an exact professional working for you. So it is a big picture, not just a piece of the pie, but a whole big picture. So
there's so much more than just rate. In other words, it comes down to the complete program, the package.
And so one of the things that I say is, learn how to buy in your comfort zone. Leave all of the analyzing to the experts, because I'm a mortgage expert, but I don't analyze the rates beyond the information it is giving me to alert to lock or float.
Right.
So on behalf of my clients, I keep an eye on that. And if I see alert to lock, I'm going to advise that they go ahead and grab it. It's definitely better to be locked and wish you were floating than to be floating and wished you were locked.
Exactly.
You know? So I think the simplest way to think of it as a buyer is, where is that comfort zone in your payment?
Exactly.
Don't overthink it, don't risk playing the market.
Yep.
Don't make an application because you were possibly given a teaser rate that didn't fit your specific circumstance, with your credit score, with your loan size, with your down payment, with your program.
Yep.
I can't stress enough you're doing yourself a favor if you have a professional, just like if you need an attorney, right? Are you going to get a public defender, or are you going to get someone who's going to take care of the job for you and get it handled? It's kind of, I liken it to that, because really there's so many aspects of the job and so many things that come along the way.
Yeah. Well, the question, that's an interesting point you look at when you come into that. We'll dive deeper into that as well. I want to bring Frankie on as well. Dr. Frankie Amarillas.
Yes.
All right. Welcome
Thanks
in.
for having me, Brandon.
Yes, sir. All right.
Yep. I'm just going to talk about how to get most out of your visit with a physical medicine type practitioner, whether it's physical therapy, chiropractic, when you go to a visit, what you should bring with you, whether it's an MRI, really know what you're dealing with. Is it a problem with getting up from a seated position, being very specific on what your problem is. I have people come into the office sometimes and they say, I have pain. Okay, well, where's your pain? We have to figure out, and it takes time.
Right.
And now with practitioners, we only have a limited amount of time to spend with a patient. So if you come prepared to the visit, on average, about for a low back condition is about 10 visits, really.
Yeah.
and what's what the research says. And then for neck conditions, about 9 visits. So really knowing what you have, and then we can give you exercises specifically to your problem. So that kind of stuff is important. 80% of what I get for my diagnosis is what you tell me. So it's so important where, we're being rushed in medicine now. We have to, see people in mass quantities, and our care is diminishing. It's not as effective as it should be.
Yeah, it's a systemic problem, isn't it? I mean, you look at that.
It is. It's a problem, when insurance groups are involved, and it becomes it's sad. It really is sad because you really want to help as many people as you can. Yeah. But your time is limited, and if you don't come in prepared, then it really takes out a lot of time.
It takes the humanity out of it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's what we love to do. We went to school for it, and we really love to help people. But unfortunately, when the time is limited and you have to do your best and give them the best diagnosis you got at the time, and we go from there, and then you see them the next visit, and that's why everything kind of builds on itself. With care.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I like that. I like the approach. And it's HMO, PPO, where do you fall? So, when you're sick, the last thing you want to deal with is kind of navigating those waters. And then you do show up to the physician's office, the chiropractor's office, the doctor's office. And so you're saying, come in with a plan. Come in
with a plan. That was another thing. Yeah. I'm new to the state of Florida. I originally was practicing in the state of Wisconsin. Yep. And they were talking about, really, there's no one that is handling spinal care. There's no practitioner that is a spine guy. If you think of the eye, you have an optometrist that takes care of the eye. If you got a foot, you got a podiatrist. When it comes to the back, it's all over the place. So by the time you're done, you've seen a chiropractor, you spent an exam there, you've seen a physical therapist, there's another exam. You've gone to your primary care physician, there's another exam. You went to the orthopedist, there's another exam. You just exhausted. You've had 4 exams, and it's no one's communicating at this point, and you're getting all different types of care, so it's a big waste of money at that point.
Yeah, you're paying co-pays, especially if you got co-pays. You got all these different costs associated. All right, so that's great. We're gonna dive deeper into that as well. Brandon Rhymes here. I'm your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All-star lineup for you today, as you can see. Check out our book on Amazon. Become the MVP in your industry by surfing the radio waves. We'd love to have you take a look at that book, and we're also rolling out a really cool program on the backside of that, nationwide syndication. But I'm also a published author, professional speaker, and we're going to start off today with a little bit of personal development, a little bit of an audible. We got Peyton Manning helping us with that audible there. So Dr. Edward Banfield of Harvard conducted a 50-year study into the upward socioeconomic mobility in the United States and other countries. So this was a great study. It spanned over 50 years, and he wanted to know what makes some people more successful than others. What are the key functions of success, and how do you make more money? Some people are born dirt poor. We've all seen the different studies of the different folks. Oprah Winfrey, John Paul DeJoria, Henry Ford, all these different great names that we've heard. They started off with nothing, yet they amassed millions and sometimes billions of dollars. By the way, I just saw the Forbes list come out. Jeff Bezos, number 1 on that Forbes list now, billions of dollars, just surpassed is it Bill Gates? So when you think about it, we live in one of the greatest country on the planet. And so Dr. Edward Banfield conducted this study, and he wanted to know what is the number one reason why people are sometimes more successful than others. And it's not race, it's not income class, it's not where you're born, it's not what school you went to. What he looked at is he came in and he said the number one common denominator of success, his conclusion at that time, was time perspective. The amount of time that you take into account before developing your plan and taking action. So taking that long time perspective, that's why you find in some cultures, they think decades into the future. They think decades and decades into the future before they develop their plan. And you want to think about it from an example. You think about the plans that businesses have, these succession plans, these SWOT analysis that they'll go through, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, the in-depth analysis that a corporation is going to look at before they make certain moves. And then on the flip side of that, you think about the hopeless drunk or the alcoholic or the drug addict. They're thinking about the next fix, the next short term, and a lot of times I've heard one motivational speaker break it down into you want to focus on things that are goal achieving versus tension relieving. So when you think about it, you break it down. There's your 2-minute drill from the Consumer Quarterback Show. Dr. Edward Banfield conducted a great study, and the number one factor was long time perspective, developing that long time perspective. All right, let's jump right into it. Brandon Rhymes here, Quarterback Show. We got Ruth Watkins in the house. So now we're going to talk real estate. We're going to talk mortgage, and we're going to talk about, why people want to buy in their comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, as far as the local market, I do want to add, and I know when I talk about buying in your comfort zone, I'm simply talking about a house payment. Simplify it, get all of the answers, and exposure to everything that you don't have to think about, but you can be presented to from your mortgage professional that can give you all the things that you need to think about to make that decision, and then simply get you on your path to accomplishing your goal.
Right.
What I wanted to include into that is, concern about the market and the current market and fear of a bubble and another, crash happening. The thing is that, back in the day prior to the crash, and I've been in the industry for over 30 years, so I chose an industry for myself. When you talk about long range goals, I'm like, everybody will always buy a house, so I chose a career that was going to be long standing.
Well, we come back. Let's jump into it. We're kind of running short on this segment. So Ruth Watkins, Team Go Loans and GSF Mortgage expert here, contributor on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Dr. Frankie Emerias coming up as well. And we have our Feel Good Story of the Week coming up also. So stay with us here. Consumer Quarterback Show, helping you win in any marketplace. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show, hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes. Do not touch that dial. I'll come right through the radio and grab your throat.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, former USF football player, played on the inaugural football team at USF, longtime quarterback on our sports team, state championship game appearances, and now we're quarterbacking introductions to our 80-plus show partners, and we want you to think about this show as the hub of your financial, your business, your health wheel, each spoke extending out, representing another one of our preferred partners, our on-air expert contributors that we've assembled, we've added, we bring on the show to help you win in any marketplace. Got a couple of hot listings I want to let you know about here in Tampa Bay. Beautiful property in Old Northeast section. Where are my $1 million buyers at? I need to talk to some $1 million buyers here. 215 12th Avenue Northeast in St. Pete. This is a $1.4 million home that's under construction, almost finalized, and it's 215 12th Avenue Northeast St. Pete. $1.4 million, over 3,700 square feet. Beautiful buying opportunity here in lovely Tampa Bay. I also have 1024 Mandalay Avenue, Clearwater Beach, 1024 Mandalay Avenue, Clearwater Beach. Beautiful property, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, over 1,800 square feet, split floor plan, and you have a short walk across the street. You could walk across one street, and you're on the north beach of Clearwater Beach. Beautiful place to live, work, and play. All right, so we're back here in studio. We got Ruth Watkins. She's our mortgage expert here, contributor on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We got Dr. Frankie Amarias as well, coming up as well. He's going to talk about some different approach to health and you know, the spine particularly. We're talking about back and neck pain as well today here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And I want to give a shout out to Mary Maids. Our official cleaning partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show is Mary Maids. Relax, it's done. Welcome to your clean home. Let Mary Maids take care of your winter cleaning. We know clean. Leave the details to us. They are the recipients of the 2016 Women's Choice Award, America's Most Recommended Cleaning Services, Mary Maids, and make sure you let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you for special incentives. All right, so Ruth Watkins, we had to cut you off there short of the break there.
And we're back.
We're back. and so, you know, it's an interesting story you have here. It's 10 years after the crash, the boom times are back in real estate,
right,
but way different.
Yes, exactly. And the reason that is like I said before the break, I got into a career that I knew would be long-standing because obviously everybody buys houses. And then we got our, you know, the wind kicked out of us, and a lot of people lost their homes, and it was like, where did this come from?
Right.
Where that came from was the lax in lending. I'm sure everybody has seen the movies behind the, you know, Too Big to Fail and all of that, and cutting, you know, people, the A paper for people that qualified with people that didn't qualify. Basically, you just needed a pulse pretty much.
Yeah.
You could have a 580 credit score, 0 down, don't even tell me what you make, and go ahead.
100%.
Now, I can tell you personally, I have never, ever given a loan to someone that I didn't feel deserved it in good conscience. I can't do that. But, you know, there's a lot of people that did.
I did. I was in the early 20s. Yeah. My friends are making 15, 20, 30 grand a month. I'm coming into a company that taught, you know, hey, they were a sales company, man.
Yeah.
You go out there, you get the docs from the customer. They can't shop you.
Right.
And yeah, I didn't know any different.
Right.
You know, I was selling non-prime loans when you could have probably sold an A-paper deal.
I guess
didn't know it.
I was older, you know, and so I was very aware that I didn't want to set someone up for failure.
Right.
Because, you know, their eyes get real big. They want this. And, you know, I'm not going to do that. I can't responsibly put someone in that position to where I know they're going to be struggling and lose their home ultimately, you know. And so I would rather someone else take on that burden. But, you know, when it crashed, 3 out of 4 licensed originators disappeared. So that'll tell you.
Well, they
you know,
didn't even track them back then, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, we all had licenses, but you disappeared, and they took the license away.
Well, the loan officers, though, as a mortgage loan officer, you didn't have to be, as long as you work for a chartered.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that's where people got away with it.
Yeah, they sure did. And you know, living in those types of loans or not really fully grasping the industry as an expert.
Yeah.
I mean, this truly, if you're going to survive, you know, to be able to survive during the crash, I mean, that says a lot about you as a person anyway in this market, because people just dropped like flies because
That's right.
there was nothing going on. And the appraisals, we were a declining market here in Florida.
Yep.
Lenders pulled out of wanting to lend in Florida. We were number one, and California was number two in foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
So, we went through a good 7 years of wow.
Flushing out the system.
Yeah. And the thing is that we've, with the change in our guidelines, we've kind of went back to the 80s when I got into the business, which I hate to say. I love the 80s, but, we're kind of, we're documenting everything. The government writes in, we have to prove the ability to repay.
Yeah.
That is the only responsible thing to do for a buyer. Prove that they can repay. They feel like you're being, a little over documentation or a little too nosy. Where did that deposit come from? Where did that check come from?
Yeah.
But, it is all in effort to keep our system strong.
That's
so
right.
that we do have performing notes, so that we do have people that can pay their house payment,
Yep.
stay in their home, and continue to increase the strength of the economy.
It sure
you know?
does. Yeah, it's important that, those. And here's a good quote from Danielle Hale. She's a chief economist for Realtor.com. As we compare today's market dynamics to those of a decade ago, it's important to remember rising prices did not cause the housing
That's
crash.
right.
It was the prices stoked by subprime and low documentation mortgages, as well as people looking for more home than they can afford and short-term gains versus today truer market vitality that created the environment for the crash.
And it's spurred on job growth because people are making the money, They're not getting artificial mortgages,
Right.
that were in place. So they are qualifying. So our appreciation due to supply and demand is because of our growth in our economy and
Yeah.
our jobs.
Yeah, and then even with what's recently you've seen coming into play with the tax plan, the Trump tax plan, the Tax Credits and Jobs Act plan, whatever the official name was. We've heard lots of different stories, and I was even listening to the Sunday show that we have on 102.5 The Bone. I was listening to that program this morning, and Mike Calta was talking about how he got an email from Cox Corporate, and they were joking about one of the other producers saying, "Oh, I didn't see that email." He goes, "Well, you might want to read it because you just got a raise." So the trickle down effect,
Yes,
the trickle down
the
effect.
businesses save money, and they went and gave a lot of people bonuses and raises and things like that.
A lot of
made
them
it
did.
possible.
Yep. So there's another example of, we're in a strong economy, the housing market's strong, especially, here, I always say this too, a lot of times these national programs or these national numbers come out on a macro of what's happening in the United States, and they talk about housing and this and that, but really housing and real estate is so geo-local,
Right.
So it's a local. So when we look at Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Bradenton, Sarasota,
Yeah.
Fort Myers, Naples, this is one of the best coasts, one of the best places to live in the United States, and there's no better place to be. And then that's going to further add to the appreciation. It's going to slow a little bit with the rising interest rates.
What are we in, the top percent for job growth, right here in
Consistently.
Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, it's a seller's market because of the demand, right? So the inventory is low.
Yep.
Again, rather than trying to predict, way far out in your future about what's going to happen with appreciation, we can look back historically and we can say, okay, a conservative amount is say 3%, per year. In some years, it's going to be far more than that. It just depends.
Yep.
And again, all based on growth and all based on money moving. And one of the crucial criteria is to keep that or to initially kickstart that was the job market, which was the housing market, which is why rates were kept artificially low. And, they weren't where they should have been based on the economy we were in. So, taking that bet and having the feds hold down the rates and giving those opportunities, even though the jobs weren't as strong at that point, it allowed us to get a better foothold and then grow from there and kind of restructure everything in our economy.
For the longest time, we kept thinking, when is this QE going to end? The quantitative easing, right? We kept thinking, oh, it's going to be, they're going to start raising the rates. They're going to start, and they didn't, and they did it, and they did it. And finally, so now here we are. So we're in a rising interest rate environment.
Right.
What does that mean for the listeners right now?
Well, I think right now, I don't care if they're saying it's rising. It's rising from a an unheard of low. So even, prior to the crash, we were at 6, which was everyone thought was an incredible low. So that ride through this recovery of the recession, if you took advantage of it, great. But, don't let a 5% interest rate steer you.
Right.
The longer you wait, the more chances you're going to have of coming back into that market that the interest rates rise.
Yeah.
You
got two factors working against you. You got rising interest rates and rising home prices.
That's right.
So the longer you wait, the more cost it's going to be to get into a house, especially if you're renting. If you're renting right now, you're throwing a lot of money away.
Your rent's going up.
You're probably making assumptions, I can't afford it because I don't have the down payment.
Right.
I got to have 20% down. No, you don't.
And that's why you need to talk to an expert, because
That's right.
even you might not have any clue where you are, but if you have a 2-year job history, a 2-year residence history, and a credit history, or even minimal credit, whatever, the expert can tell you everything you need to know.
And we can teach you how to add trade lines to that and build your credit
right.
as well, all in the process. So stay with us here, Consumer Quarterback Show. We're helping you win. We're dropping some knowledge here, Ruth, with them today, helping them understand more about how to get into home ownership. Down payment assistance programs are out there.
Yep.
So stay with us here. Do not touch that dial. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, and platinummvprealty.com. You can do all your real estate search. You can do a valuation there. Powerful website. Great program we have at platinummvprealty.com. And I want to give a shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill. Our official restaurant partner is Brio Tuscan Grill. Now, they're offering something special to our listeners right now, the fans of the Consumer Quarterback Show. If you mention the Consumer Quarterback Show during your next visit, you're going to get one of Brio's signature appetizers free, just for mentioning the show. So go in and have a great lunch and do a business lunch over there, 2223 Northwest Shore Boulevard. You know where it's at. It's right there at the International Plaza. And they've got the spicy shrimp and eggplant, one of the best appetizers that I've ever had. They've got the calamari, beef carpaccio, They've got the bruschettas and the great little pizzas as well. So let them know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Get your free appetizer, and they're also going to hook you up with the free water with lemon every time. They're going to take care of it. They hook it up. They hook it up.
I was just there yesterday. You told me yesterday.
You got the water and lemon, though, didn't you?
Yeah, man. They hooked you up. All right, so we're helping you win in any marketplace. I want to bring Dr. Frankie Emeria into the conversation. Feel Good Chiropractic, and right there on Ehrlich in Tampa. So what makes your company different? What's your practice? How are you a little bit different than the others?
So just more of a personal touch with the patient. We're going to take our time. We're going to go over an exam. We're going to tell them, whether you're fit for chiropractic care first.
Right.
Are you, maybe you're not fit for what we do. We'll send you somewhere else, whether it's an orthopedic surgeon or you're their primary care physician. So we're very open to sending you to whoever's going to fix you, first of all.
Yeah.
And second of all is we'll show you what's wrong with you. We're going to show you imbalances in muscles, whether it's too lax or too tight. Imbalances are more key. Some people will come in with tight hamstrings. That's fine. But if one's tight and one's loose, then we're going to look at what is that? Why is it loose? Why is it tight? We'll go further into that. Is it a weakness? And then we'll move on. And if it's manipulation that you need, we'll go with manipulation or an adjustment. And then we'll follow up with some exercises. And then the visits will build. You're not going to see the same thing every visit. It's going to, maybe now it's changed from one hip to the other side. So your body's ever changing, and it's extremely smart. So it'll try to fix itself, and we just do that, and with time your body will heal itself, and we'll go.
That's what I like. I like the adjustments. I like the cracking, man.
Yeah.
You feel it. You're just like, oh man, it feels so good. Somebody explained to me one time, what is that? What makes it feel good, or what is it? It's the release of
It's a release of synovial fluid within a facet joint. So what the leading research is saying now is, before everything was alignment, and it's a simple way of saying it to a patient, it's your alignment. But in reality, what the research is saying is we're always looking at what they consider an end organ effect. So we want to affect the muscle, and we're really working with the central nervous system. There's communication within that facet joint. Facet joint is where two vertebrae meet.
Right.
It's like outriggers towards the right and left of the vertebrae, and there's fluid in there, and it's highly proprioceptive. So communication to that joint is very, very sensitive. So when you move to the right, obviously that side on the right side is being compressed. Information is relayed up to the brain. The muscles in that area are either elongated or shortened, and then that's where the communication is, and that's what we're basically working with, resetting those areas, really adding more motion to that facet joint. So there's more communication, and then you add exercises to continue to add that communication, and then that's how your body will heal.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes in, is that the patient goes home, they don't want to stretch. They're going into their same positions of, maybe it's a bad mattress, maybe it's a bad posture when it comes to working on their computers and their phones.
Right.
Because so many times people are looking down. They're hunched over, looking down, right?
Yeah, sometimes I'll go to people's office if they want me to go to their office and evaluate their desk ergonomics and look at what's going on. It's deeper than just fixing them, and then 3 weeks later they come back. You follow them up, whether it's they're driving. So you really get into having a good relationship with your practitioner is huge.
Right.
That would be the second thing to have with your practitioner when you go to your visit is first, come prepared. The second one would be to have a great relationship with that practitioner and be able to talk freely and talk about what's going on and what's causing your pain. Sometimes it's something, I have patients that are on Medicare that, they wake up in the morning and they hurt, and I have guys that are professional runners and they hurt after, 10 miles. Okay, well, what's the difference? There's a big difference there, with fatigue, with maybe a runner, with, a Medicare patient more arthritic and just more stretching and that kind of stuff. So it's very unique and different.
It's interesting too. By the way, if you just joined us, I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. We're talking with Dr. Frankie Emeria, Feel Good Chiropractic. He's on Ehrlich in Tampa. And when I think back to my football career, man, starting off as 7, 8 years old playing, how many times did I have a head-to-head collision, and I think about my neck. I used to get the pinched nerve all the time that would just shoot that pain down your arm, and your arm would just go numb. It'd feel like hot. It'd feel like real red hot. Yep. By the time the next play comes around, you suck it up and you go, So you look at that, right, and you look at that, and then you look at, even my former coach at USF, it was Andre Waters. He was his nickname back in when he played for the Philadelphia Eagles was Dirty Waters, because he would hit people with his head, really hard across the middle back before all these rules came out. But he shot himself along with Junior Seau, so a lot of these athletes, and they do. I think I can't say that he shot himself. He committed suicide. I don't remember how he did it.
Wow.
But Seau shot himself in the heart because he wanted to preserve his brain for the studying. So I'm kind of relating this to, I think it starts, a lot of it's in the head, but it comes right down the spine, comes into the neck, the body, the back.
It's all communication, really. Your body's, they've done research before. They were doing research with professional basketball players. They were turning their ankle, and they would go for a layup, and they would turn their ankle. They have the best physicians, best physical therapists. Yep. They were wondering what's the deal, what's the missing link here, and the missing link was the communication. They would go up for a layup. Their foot would be turned in when their body's perceiving it straight, and they come down on that ankle. So they added a lot of balance type training to these athletes, and that's where it is with the correction of whether it's an adjustment, physical therapy, all these types of inputs into the body. And if it's curable, it should correct itself with time.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that people lose sight of as well, is how important balance is in their life. I remember I had a real bad ankle sprain as well. That really was ended my football career. Was a bad ankle sprain, and then I did it again playing basketball after I was done playing. Came down on somebody's foot, rolled it to the outside, and I remember I had the air cast and all that. But one of the doctors said is, even something simple as when you're brushing your teeth, balance on one foot. Balance, because then your foot's going to be triggering or firing on both sides.
Yep, and that's relaying information up to your brain once again, and firing that muscle. And that's exactly what I tell my patients. I understand you're doing a side plank now. This side's weaker than the other side, so let's work on this weak side. It's okay if you're shaking as long as you have your position right. As soon as you lose your position, then you stop the exercise. But that firing is just sending impulses up to your brain and back into that muscle, and just firing it to help that connection.
Yeah.
To fix the actual problem.
So what's the number one complaint people come in? Is it low back pain? Is it?
Yeah, I would say low back pain and neck pain, and I would say headaches is probably the third. So obviously, if you look at the research, and I always tell people, if you want to look up research, go to PubMed. PubMed's a great source. You go there, you put in whether it's chiropractic, physical therapy, whatever you want. You put it in there, and you got articles that physicians are looking at for free.
It's PubMed.
Med.
Got it.
Great source.
Interesting.
You go there, you push in, if you want to learn about ankle sprains, you could put in ankle sprains, and it tells you the new leading research. It starts from the newest research to the latest.
Interesting.
So it's a really good source. I always tell people, go there, look at I'll tell them, this is what you have. You have a muscle strain with a facet joint irritation. Look it up online, become educated, and see what the research says.
Yeah.
So it's a great source.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I'm thinking about balance and everything. And unfortunately, as we get older, we are sitting at desks, we are driving in cars, we are not doing things that you would do as a kid, like ride bikes and the things that depend on balance.
Yep.
And something as simple as the game like Wii Fit, you don't realize how off balance until you go to play one of those games, and then you're like, holy crap. I'm like, I now can't wait to get on a real Segway.
Right.
I want to see,
I've done that
you
before.
need the balance. Balance is what's going to keep you balanced. Obviously.
But I do find that actually my older patients are more diligent about doing their exercises than my younger patients. They'll start them, and then they just forget them, where the older patients are very committed, and they'll I always, open door policy at my clinic. If you want to call me, give me a call. If you forget how to do the exercise, or if you want to take a video of the exercise, you got your phone there, I'll videotape you so you can kind of see yourself do it, because sometimes it's detail stuff. Yeah,
you know,
forget.
they say youth is wasted on the young, so they don't get it yet.
yeah. It's like, oh, I'm fine.
They don't get it yet.
I'll be great.
They got to learn the lesson the hard way.
That's right.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's right.
When you can't get off the toilet or something, then it gets serious. You know?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, okay.
That's right. All right. So more from our expert contributors, Ruth Watkins in the house, teamgoloans.com, and Dr. Frankie Amarias, Feel Good Chiropractic. He's got a clinic on Ehrlich Road here in Tampa. And when we come back, our Feel Good Story of the Week, dog deemed unadoptable to become first ever deaf canine in Washington. So for all you pet lovers out there, dog lovers, we've got a great story coming up. So stay with us here. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Jarek Robbins. You are listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Please do what it takes to learn all that you have to live the life you want to live it fully, and find a way to give it by paying it forward to others.
Get in touch with Brandon online at consumerqb.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the real estate quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. We are in a low inventory market, so any of our listeners are homeowners and would like a free comparable market analysis or a 2.5% listing, we will honor this for the first 3 listeners who call or text in 813-773-1253. Free CMA and a 2.5% real estate listing at 813-773-1253. Check out PlatinumMVPRealty.net.
You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, owner of Platinum MVP Realty and a top listing agent here in Tampa Bay. We're looking for inventory right now. If you're a seller out there thinking about selling, we would love to talk to you. There is a lack of inventory here in Tampa Bay. We've got several families looking to move into the area, and we're having a difficult time finding properties for them. So reach out. We'd love to talk to you. 813-670-7372. That's our consumer advocate hotline, 813-670-7372. And we want to give a shout out to Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora on beautiful St. Pete Beach. It's the first new hotel built on St. Pete Beach in decades. It's a Spanish ancestry meets cool Mediterranean attitude, whitewashed Mediterranean palace with expansive luxury suites with balconies overlooking the Intercoastal Waterway and the Gulf of Mexico as well. Rooftop yoga on the weekends. They've got the 360 lounge upstairs. The Castile restaurant is absolutely amazing food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner over at the Castile restaurant as well. And you don't have to stay there to eat there. So reach out to Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora on St. Pete Beach. Let them know the real estate quarterback sent you, and you're going to get 20% off of your stay over at the Hotel Zamora on St. Pete Beach. All right, a couple of hot listings I want to let you know about here in Tampa Bay. We just reduced this property on Crikel Avenue in Riverview, 6601 Crikel Avenue, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath. And the property that we have here is a $349,000 property, 3,316 square feet, 6601 Crikel Avenue. Avenue in Tampa. And we got a property on Himes Avenue as well, 15648 North Himes Avenue in Tampa. 5 bedrooms, 4 bath, $485,000. Beautiful split floor plan home, over 4,300 square feet in the North Carrollwood area, the North Forest Village. $485,000. Beautiful property here in gorgeous Tampa Bay.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
All right, so back here in studio, we've got Ruth Watkins, teamgoloans.com, and our mortgage expert contributor, Ruth Watkins, GSF Mortgage, Dr. Frankie Amarias, Feel Good Chiropractic here in Tampa Bay. So, Doc, let's talk about, when you think about chiropractic care, what are some of the misnomers that people have?
Some of the misnomers are, I would say, that you have to continue to always come back. That's one thing I always hear. Once you go, you always have to come back.
Yep.
This and that. And what I find in my clinic, like I said, on average, 7 visits is my average, whether it's neck or low back pain.
Mm-hmm.
With I'm not going to over treat you. We're going to have you do stuff at home. That's a big thing. If you go to a practitioner that's just giving you an adjustment and that sends you on your way, well, really, if you look at the research once again, you have to have, it's a partnership with you and him, but you have to have that active portion of the treatment.
Right.
So what I do is passive. You lay on the table, I do something to you. Now you have to do something passive. Unfortunately, some people don't like to do the active thing, but that's going to increase your probability of getting better. So you have to do that.
So how much of it is posture, on a daily basis, just minding your posture, making sure you're not allowing your stomach to push out and your shoulders to hunch. You want to keep them, chest up, shoulders back, right? You want to have good posture.
Yeah. So what I always tell people, the best way to sit is actually, if you think of, let's start with standing first. So I always tell people, when you go to the bar, you notice that at the bar, there's a bar at the bottom of the bar. It's like a chrome bar usually, right?
Yep.
And people will put their foot on there, and when you do that, your pelvis will draw forward, preserving that lumbar lordosis, so that curve in your lumbar spine. You preserve that lumbar spine, then your thoracic spine will also preserve, and your neck. Okay, whenever you affect one curve, the other two will be affected. Same thing when you're seated. For you to stand up and stay up straight is nearly impossible. You're going to get tired, fatigued. Your muscles are holding you up. You want your structure to hold you up. So the best way to do it is you're going to have a wide stance, 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. That will draw your pelvis to dump forward once again, preserving that lumbar lordosis and the kyphosis in your thoracic spine, or the hump in the middle of the back. Yeah. And then the other curve in your neck. So I always tell my patients that's the best way to sit. It's an active sitting, but in reality, we're not made to sit for hours and hours. So in reality, you have to change posture. You want to stand up for a little bit. You want to sit on one cheek for a while, sit on the other cheek. But you always want to preserve that wide base of support when you're seated. So I always tell my patients. And then some people want like a standing desk, and that's appropriate for some people and not for others. If you're very flexible and you're already in that hyperlordosis, or your curve is already accentuated in that lumbar spine, it's probably not best for you. So it's everyone's so different.
Yeah, and one thing I do too, I learned this from Tony Robbins, is when I'm sitting at my computer for a certain amount of time, I'll get up and take a break. And in my office, at my home office, I've got one of those mini trampolines. So I'll get up and jump on the trampoline for a little bit, get the blood flowing, shake it up, get out of that static position, as you mentioned. And what he talked about too is when I first saw this in Business Mastery back in 2010 in Namale, Fiji, he talked about how on a cellular level, what's happening is when you're doing that rebound, the up and the down, your cells are stretching on a cellular level. So think about each cell membrane getting stretched up and down as you're rebounding on that trampoline.
That's pretty cool. Actually, me and my wife are going to have our first baby. And we were talking about it's in April. So she was talking about trampolines and this and I'm like, honey, people get hurt on those things. I don't want them. She's like, they're good for you. They're good for you. Yeah. And so she was talking about that just recently. So it triggered my memory. That's interesting.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. So let's do our feel good story. Every week we want to tell you something positive. Every day we're going to tell you something positive here. So we have our feel good story of the week here.
Tell me something good.
So we got a dog deemed unadoptable to become first ever deaf canine in Washington. So Ghost, a pit bull mix, was deemed unadoptable by animal control officials in Florida because of his abundance of energy, and his deafness would also have required owners willing to learn new ways of communicating. Ghost was scheduled to be euthanized, but Swamp Haven Humane wanted to give him another chance at a forever home. So they reached out to several animal shelters around the country, including Olympic Peninsula Humane Society in Port Angeles, and which agreed to take him in. That's when Ghost met longtime dog trainer Barb Davenport. I'm always up for a challenge, Davenport told KIRO7. Her hard work paid off. Ghost is currently living in his new handler, with his new handler, Joe Henderson, and is training as a narcotics detention dog for the Washington Department of Corrections. He will be the first deaf dog in Washington's canine history.
That's amazing.
That's a feel-good story right there.
Yeah. You know,
Very nice.
yeah, it is. And I want to share something. That's the thing. Animal control, you said, they deemed him unadoptable. I did 5 years of actual formal rescue, and, I would go through the halls of animal control and get to see the ones that are deemed unadoptable that the public does not get to see. And a person that would have the open-mindedness to take it might not get that ability, and that's why those rescue groups exist. And they used to call me for what they called the piranhas, because they were the biters, and I could deal with biters. I know exactly. So I walked back, and I said, "Why didn't you tell me about that dog?" He says, "Well, because it's a biter and we have to euthanize it." And I said, "No, wait a minute. I'm rescue. I'm taking the dog."
Yeah.
And he says, "Well, I can't release a biter." I said, "I'll sign a note."
Yeah.
So a few minutes later, I actually put the harness around the dog, pulled it out so it couldn't bite me. I walked it outside, and I took it, walking. When I went back into the building, it took less than 15 minutes. The dog is now standing on my leg because he doesn't want to go back in the cage.
Yeah.
That was simple communication. I pick up the dog, I go into the prep room, give him a bath, cut his nails, walk out front, and I said, "Goodbye."
Yeah.
The guy's like, "What? Oh my God, how
That's
did you
awesome.
do that?"
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I'm like, "Well, you either have it or you don't. Don't close your mind to a dog. Not, give him the chance."
Yeah, that's right.
Give him the chance.
All right, so Ruth, you have an awesome jingle here. I'm gonna play it for our listeners out
Yeah,
here. She's
let
got
me
a
chair
really
dance.
cool marketing jingle here.
Baby want a loan to get themselves a home. Makes no sense to pay the rent when you would rather own. Only one place to know.
Sarah rents a lot.
Yes.
Go. They represent and stop the rent because baby want a loan.
There you go.
That's right. It's true.
So many people do rent.
They do, and they don't even, they don't think about it. It's more like a wish or a far away thing, and maybe they don't have the money together right now, but
Right.
you can get there slowly. Even $100 here, $100 there. Set yourself a goal.
That's right.
Know what it is. Set yourself a goal. I mean, I bought my first home when I was 22 years old. So, it's something that I always felt that, the stability of having your own property.
Yep.
And I've continually done that. And, to me, that's a safe investment and it belongs to you. And,
Do you still own that same home?
no, I don't.
But if you did, how much would it be worth
oh my
right now?
Gosh.
Right, you'd have at least
Yeah.
$100,000 in equity.
Oh no, more than that.
Yeah.
More than that. So actually, that first home was in Largo. Yeah. So it's quite a bit. It's probably about 200,000 more
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Than it was then.
So the long-term strategy to build wealth, real estate is such a great income class. Get in right now before the rates continue to rise. The prices are rising. TeamGoLoans.com. Ruth Watkins, expert contributor here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Dr. Frankie Emerius as well. Feel Good Chiropractic, and he's got a office right there on Ehrlich in Tampa. So I want to thank our expert contributors. Thanks to our listeners out there, our viewers of our TV show on WeBeam TV. Follow us on Facebook at Brandon Rhymes 1, on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll see you next time here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you go out there and consider committing a random random act of kindness, something as simple as packing up some leftover food, some clothing you have, carrying it with you to and from your commute, handing it to that person that you see in need. Be a force for good in the community, and we'll see you next time here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show, weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.